We used to own everything from west of Mississippi this way, but white settlers got hungry. So now we are here in a small little place called Shannon County, inside of the reservation. But still the settlers are hungry, so they're coming in and taking away most of the land we have. So we don't have no buffalo. My grandpa says a reservation is a place to die.
A lot of my work is about housing, and I know how to make relatively inexpensive, pleasant, non-toxic cabins and huts and places to live. So I can teach people how to do this. It's really hard to say what my expectations are from the workshop. I mostly hope that we put up a small little cabin for somebody to live in, and then we make a good connection with the people that are there. And that will be an enriching time for everybody. This whole workshop is full of paradoxes. We have the feeling we want to go down to the reservation to help them, but maybe they don't need any help, and maybe we're just helping ourselves. We feel like we're going there to give, but really we will receive a lot more than we give.
I was researching cob building and natural building for a long time. Me and my husband moved out to the land here. We got an old trailer and we started to refinish this, but I thought that we could build from the resources off the land. So I contacted Conrad to ask him some questions about natural plasters. And then I got an idea that if we could get him to come out and do a demonstration, then more people could see that we could use natural resources around us to build these houses. We've lived without electricity, without running water, without septic now for almost 5 years. And our only source of heat comes from our wood stove and a propane heater. It's incredibly cold in the winter, and it's very, very hot in the summer. I've been going to college. I study by candlelight, kerosene, and flashlights. It's been difficult, but it's proven to me that I can do it. Simplify, that's what makes you happy. Your life is simple here. We don't go by clocks. We eat when we're hungry. We go to bed when we're tired. We get up when we're rested. When you come out here, everything's wide open too. Spaces are wide open. Everything it broadens your mind. It changes you. You start to appreciate little things, like just being on the land, watching the stars at night, without any lights, no fluorescent lights from Kmart to block out your your views. The openness and the people. I love the Lakota people. They open their homes, they open their ceremonies, and they open their hearts to me, and they help me. You know, they help me and my family, and I feel blessed, and great healings have come from that, teaching me how to be more of a human being and less of a robot.
From what I understand is that there are European Americans and government agencies that still feel that the Indians have too much land, or that they should give up part of it. They should move towards private ownership, or they should allow more cattle grazing, and so forth and so forth. So even in this day and age, the land grab is still going on. The Indians were fooled time after time with promises and treaties. Originally, the Euro-Americans said that all they wanted was just a passageway, but really what they wanted was everything. They wanted the land, and they wanted the buffalo skins, and they definitely didn't want the Indians to live here. This was a very turbulent area. The Native Americans that lived in this area were held out the longest. They were the best fighters, they were the best community people, and they held on the longest to their dream of living the way they wanted to live. The short answer is we're just going to build a little house for somebody. A lot of people need houses. It's going to be a fabulous time. We're going to make some contact, and we're going to hang out with some people that are living in a distinctly different world from where we live.
I can see a cluster of houses in the middle of the prairie land. I can see the silent Lakota man standing there hand in hand, and keeping that cluster of houses, cooking fry bread of the prairie land. I can see
That's killing me.
Lakota women giving each other a hand, roaming that cluster of houses.
To be honest, Gear, this is the nicest duck foundation we've ever encountered.
I fear for the Lakota kids that they end up with a gun in their hand. I feel the Lakota elders there on the prairie land.
The white man name I have is David Swallow Jr. Here in Porcupine. I live in Porcupine, South Dakota, Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. And my Lakota name is Wowita Yuhamani. I am a spiritual leader of the nation, one of the spiritual leaders of the nation. Not the community alone, it's the nation. And my role is to help heal people, body, mind, and spirit. Or what little I have, I give it to them. My people's family, they need more housings than ever. The housings my people lived in has black mold, and it's a cardboard house, and yet they pay rent. And the black mold causes lung infection and brain infection for the old and the young. So I am really glad that they come here to demonstrate and to build this hay bale house.
Unroll this guy.
I'm putting the drain pipe in. It's perforated drain pipe. It has little slits in it, and we're gonna lay it inside the trench. And any water that comes inside the trench has a way to easily leave the trench. I'm gonna put some old tarp in here to make sure that the silt from the side of the hillside is not gonna fill up our drainage ditch, and eventually we'll clog it up. This will give us some protection.
See, we basically do the same thing as
We do with the pipe, as you can tell. warranty transferred to the... A little loose. Yeah. I was going to subtract 50 cents for loose straw. Oh.
Work. I mean, you can set it up and you got a pitch around it. Great. That's what we do. We got
8 In Oregon, this would take a year.
That's not over. This is how you do it, huh?
So what we're doing here, we have a ditch with a pipe in the bottom.
All the way around.
All the way around. So when water comes in, it's going to be able to flow away from the building. We're standing here next to the material that got dug up out of the foundation trench, and I just want to find out what that material is and see if we can use it for a cop and plasters. Do a little kneading. It has clay in it, but I can tell that it also has a lot of silt. You see how easily my hands get clean? So let's see what happens when I make a batch of cop out of it.
Like baking bread with your feet.
It's the best part about the building process. We turn the feet into egg beaters. One of the things I noticed is that it takes a lot of water to make it into a muddy consistency, which tells me that there's a lot of silt in here. Silt is the same thing as rocks, but it's very, very fine. Look at all that water that just disappears in there. Now it's getting a little muddy. We are going to throw a little straw in there and mix that in as well. The straw will make it into a much stronger substance. It's not a binder, they call it tensile strength. It makes it that the material will stay together when it's dry. It does the same thing as what rebar does in concrete, but instead of having a few very strong strands, we have a million tiny strands. A lot of weak things make something strong. And that's the way the straw works. That's the way the bales work. That's the way our plaster works and the cop. One of the interesting things, and you will learn this throughout the course of the workshop, is that your hands and your feet have a gazillion sensors in them. And once you've mixed cop for a while, you figure out what cop feels like. This is what half the world population does, is they settle down somewhere, they go into the ground, and they start digging, and they make a house out of it. You go all over Africa, Asia, South America, and Oregon. Whenever you build your place from local materials, it's always good to do a few tests.
Light.
He's a couple few inches up on this end and you're like an inch down on your end.
I'm here for the positive outlook and the positive effects that it has on the Lakota Nation.
It can help a lot of the people to get out of the clustered homes, and a lot of the families that are living within one clustered home with large families and kids with their kids all living in the same home.
I'm interested in doing a project like this in the future, and also it's a chance to also learn part of North American culture that I don't know that much about.
Like a lot of people who aren't from the reservation, I would say, yeah, I know a lot about life on the reservation, a lot about Indians. I think the reality is that practically everything that I thought that I knew was incorrect, inaccurate, or based on lies or inaccuracies that I was taught in school. One thing that we're not taught is that people live in a level of poverty that's akin to a third world nation.
Okay, the mixing in the wheelbarrow happens with a hoe. Yeah. Oh. Wow. Yeah. Filling up the bags, it's a lot easier if somebody holds open the bag. Okay. So let's put the two together. There you go. Forward. Feels like we have almost an equilibrium, that we're mixing as fast as we can filling bags. Is that about right? About the earth bags, there's two things. One is you have to work with it for an hour to really get it, and then you start to learn how these bags react. The other thing is they're bags and they'll move around. It's okay to tamp it a little bit, look at it, move it around, tamp it a little more. The one thing I want people to be careful for is to keep an eye out for the line. Follow the foundation line. See, now it's not, if you keep tamping, the bag will keep getting thinner. The next bag is gonna go over here and it's gonna cover the seams, so we don't have any vertical seams in the foundation. I'm tapping a little hole in here so the next bag can kind of sink in there and forms a bond so that the bags won't slide off one another.
I am here because I've been interested in the natural earth building movement for about the last 10 years, since 1996, when a friend of mine gave me a Mother Earth News magazine that dealt with the issue. We don't want to be a part of the gigantic consumeristic society that our country has become, sadly.
I live in Los Angeles right now, and I don't want to live there. I haven't ever wanted to live there, but my business and my husband's are there. I want to live a more rural life. It was very important for me to somehow give back also. And this seemed like the perfect situation. I could learn something, I could give back. I didn't expect it to be as wonderful as it is.
We got a beautiful first course. Has everybody looked at the lines of the building? If you look at it, you see how it nicely bulges. If the walls are going to vary too much, then it's going to start looking sloppy. If the walls are going to be perfectly straight, then it's just going to look like a drywall house. But by building in a slight little curve, we can make it look natural. If you look around you, you look at the mountains, you don't find straight things very often. When people walk into Cobb or Strawbale buildings that have somewhat wobbly walls, they say, it feels so good in here. But the reason why it feels so good is because it resembles a little closer to what's happening out here. Usually with straw bales, the straw bales have enough of a variation in them that you don't have to try very hard to make it look a little organic. About every 3 feet, we put these black pieces of irrigation pipe underneath the course that we're building now. And we're going to use that to string some baling twine through, and with that we're going to tie the roof plate to the foundation and compress the bales a little bit. We're going to put them every 3 feet, so the next one will be here. You want it a little off center here, so you want it right next to the key, so that it doesn't sit in the key, but it also doesn't sit too close to this seam here.
But, okay, all it is just an empty.
Christopher Alexander, who is a hero designer of natural builders, says that the function of